Hello and welcome back to the Night Sky Knitting channel, which is a channel run by me, Rachel, primarily devoted to knitting and sometimes other crafts such as crochet, sewing, or anything else that might capture my attention and I want to share with you guys along the way. So normally I just do podcast episodes, chatty sit downs about what I've been working on, what I recently finished, what I've been thinking about regarding knitting. But I think it might be fun to start doing some other videos still about crafts and knitting that aren't just kind of like a chatty show and tell conversation type thing. And so today is September 1st, and to get into the spirit and to not be too sad about summer coming to an end, I've decided to film a fall intention / fall plans for my knitting and crafting in general video. I'm excited about this. I have a list of things that I've been kind of waiting for slightly colder weather to cast on, or I just had so many projects to finish this summer before I move, gift knits and things that I don't want to have to pack with me in a week when I move to a new city to start school. And so, September actually in my head does mark kind of the dawn of a new chapter of being able to knit for myself and garments and accessories that I really want to wear. Autumn for me is also going to be a time of a lot more gift knits because I think I slightly overcommitted myself to knitting things for my loved ones this year because I just got so excited and I got used to having more free time than normal. But I think I'm not going to include those in this video because I want to minimize the amount of time I spend talking about things that are meant for other people, just in case someone accidentally in, needle in a haystack finds this video and it's spoiled. And B, because I want to kind of talk about my plans for my new made wardrobe instead. So that is the theme of this video. Autumn knitting intentions and plans. And I'm going to try and be brief because I can really go on and I love to chat, and this channel is a great outlet for me to talk about this without hounding my friends and family. But I want this to be fun, but I also want it to, not dominate like an hour of your evening. So I think I have this currently divided in 3 categories. The projects that I have the yarn and the pattern for, and I really it's gonna happen. It's really set. I'm going to knit this. Then the second category is I really think I'm gonna knit this, and I either have the yarn or the pattern. But the first category is the priority, and then at the end you kind of have my stretch goals. Not stretch goals, but maybe something, my priorities will change, or as I'm out and about going to work and school again, somewhat in person, these will be bumped up in priority as I remember what it is I like to wear when not in pajamas sitting in my bed. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish all of these things this autumn, probably not, but there's a lot that I'm excited to cast on and knit and talk about with you guys, and so that's what this video is going to be. I also just find it really useful in my head to talk these things out and set goals and plans and intentions and have a clear idea of what's coming up, even if it's all up to me and just completely for fun. So yeah, happy to dive right into it. I'm going to try and maybe insert pictures or something of the patterns that I'm going to be talking about, but I've been having some trouble using iMovie on my iPad, which is what I use to edit my videos and also film them, because my computer, as much as I love it, it just can't, it literally won't download iMovie anymore. So yeah, okay, let's get started. First category, things I'm absolutely gonna knit barring disaster that I'm really excited about. Or, yeah, I think we're gonna do that. But let me just first kind of show you the yarns of things in that category. These are all purchased mostly absolutely months apart. This I got, oh, and then also this guy. I have more than just these. I don't know why I stopped talking and start posing. These are kind of the colors. They're all, I would say that it's showing up a little bit more red, warm tones on camera than they are in person. Maybe over here you can see a bit more clearly. I'm not sure, but here's a rough idea of the yarns that I'm going to be using this autumn. which I just thought really funny when I got them all out and put them in a pile to show you guys and to have them prepared as reference, that I really, even though like this was bought at the end of December of last year, this was bought in February, this in June, this also in June, and this in July, I always thought of myself as more of a green drawn to person. It's my absolute favorite color, but for identifying colors that go with the most amount of things in my wardrobe, that I chose a very clear like purple, red, gray gradient. And so that was completely unintentional, but I think it's really interesting. So yeah, the very first thing is the One That I Want crop by Lily Kate France / Lily Kate Makes on Instagram. In this Knit Picks Comfy Worsted yarn, which is a cotton acrylic blend in the Holly Berry colorway. Yeah, it's definitely coming up as more of like a bright lipstick true red on camera, but it's really more of like a burgundy or a garnet or like a wine color, if that makes sense. I'd say very well, actually the bright true red is also quite Christmassy. So this is a tank top knit flat in garter stitch, kind of go around as opposed to up or down, and then there's crochet edging, and I'm really excited about this. And this I'm actually really excited. I can show you the little that I've done here. This is going to be, I think, the left back panel. As you can see, it's very inspiring. You might be wondering, why is a crop top in your autumn knitting plans? First of all, the color feels very autumnal to me. Again, I keep showing you this color even though it's not showing up properly on camera. It feels very autumnal, but I feel it would go really well with most of my autumn pants for like going on dates with my boyfriend, or if parties are allowed again, like with a slouchy cardigan or a unbuttoned, white crisp button up and my gray jeans or my blue jeans or my beige trousers. Be a really cute autumnal or like transition look, and I'm excited about that. I think it'll be kind of a quick knit, which will balance out a lot else that I have planned, and I'm really excited about that. So that's the first one, the One That I Want crop by Lily Kate Makes. I think it's gorgeous. I think it'll be cozy and a beautiful transitional, kind of slightly more dressy, cute look. The second thing that I have planned is the Antler pullover by Tin Can Knits, which is the very first bottom up sweater with this really gorgeous cabled yoke, and a worsted rise up and crop it, because all of my pants end right here and I'm short, so when things are longer than on me, I look like the clothes are wearing me versus the opposite. I'm going to be knitting it in this yarn, which I feel kind of mixed about promoting because I got this on sale in February before I really knew more about knitting and yarns and different companies, and it turns out this company might not be one that I want to support publicly, but I have 8 skeins of this yarn because it was 25% off and kind of reasonably priced to begin with for 100% wool. And so unfortunately, you're probably going to be seeing a lot of it. But yeah, this is going to be the base of my Antler pullover. I am excited about that. I was intimidated by bottom-up constructions to begin with, but I think it'll be not that hard, I hope, and I think a nice new challenge for me. Yeah, I think that'll be really good. The next garment is by far the biggest one I think I've knit thus far, both in size, total yardage required, and also the needles. So I am going to knit Augustin's number 11. I always think it's number 11. It might be number 10, but I think it is number 11. It's, by Augustin DK. And it's a super chunky tunic dress, which I'm going to knit in this color of Drops Wish, which is, I think, their new super chunky one. This is coming across as a little bit more of like a Tabasco, again, like warm, bright red, but, oh, and this is their Bordeaux color. I'm really excited, but yeah, I feel like this is closer to the actual, it's not a pink, in person. It's a little bit more purpley, kind of matching, you know, this guy, or not matching, but a little bit closer in tones, with this nice little core of cotton. And so the tunic dress that I'm going to knit, I think is going to look gorgeous and be a great transitional piece when I want to be snuggly, and those days when you don't want to look like you care about, you don't have to think too much about how you look, but you still want to look put together. I love a good dress for that. All you have to do is make one decision, and that is the entire outfit in one garment. But it's knit on 10mm needles, which I've never really been a super chunky knits lover. It's just not the look for me. Something I love about knitting is getting that really nice drape and flow of a garment on the body. But this dress like haunted my dreams after I saw it for a little bit. And then this yarn went on sale, and it felt like the stars aligned. Also, it gives me an excuse to use the 10mm needles I got in my interchangeable set, and I would really like to use every set or every pair of needles in my set at least once, to really make sure that, you know, I'm getting the love and the money out of it. And so this is knit on 10mm needles, really wide gauge. And so even though it's a dress, I think this might not take forever to knit, and I think it'll look really nice. And I do like an I-cord cuff and neckline. I think that'll look quite lovely. It'll match a lot of my shoes that I wear in winter and autumn, and I think it'll look really cute with my short flippy hair. Oh, speaking of the hair, I've currently reached the headband stage, but I don't actually have many headbands, so you might be seeing some funky stuff with my hair on my channel for the next year and a half. So those are the 3 patterns that I have both the yarn and the pattern for already. Absolutely gonna knit them. And I'm really excited to wear them and have them be cozy additions to my wardrobe that I can say, hey, I made this myself. And anxiously at people to comment on them so I can say, hey, I made this myself. The next thing, I have the yarn, and I'm so excited to knit with it, and I'm determined to use it in the next couple months, you know, September, October, November. That's 3 months, that's not a couple. And also, you know when autumn is, but in the northern hemisphere, but you get my point. It is this Natural You hand-dyed yarn made in Canada. Once again, it's a little bit more of a cool toned lavender in person. Does this help? A little. And I really want a solid color textured sock out of these. I was originally going to use a mini skein of Sweet Georgia yarns for the maybe like toes and heels, but that is so soft that I don't want it on my feet. I want to use that for something close to skin, like maybe color work in a jumper or like a hat brim or something. But I'm torn as to which sock pattern to use for these. The Luminary Socks by Helen Stewart. I wrote it down. Indeed, the Luminary Socks by Helen Stewart really called to me in this color. But so do the Bear Socks by Pip and Pin. On the leg, but I'm going to knit socks with this yarn, and they're going to be textured and solid color. I just don't know which yet, so stay tuned for that. And so that really covers the going to be knit this autumn section, most of which, I mean, I've already cast on the crop top, but the others I'm going to cast on probably quite soon because I'm really excited and I've been thinking about it for months. The next category are things I really want to knit, but like I either don't have the yarn, haven't bought the pattern, I don't have quite an exact vision for it yet, and like how to best maximize versatility and utility in my wardrobe, which is something that's very important to me. Even when I'm buying clothes, I always think like, I try to hit the standard of, can this be worn with at least 4 outfits for a couple different situations? Like, can I wear it to class and work and out with friends and, you know, to dinner? It doesn't have to be all 4 of those things, but you need to kind of hit a couple different notes. And I want my me-made clothes, my hand knits, to reach the same standard, if not a higher one, because I'm spending so much time and often money on them. But I think at some point I will knit some version of these things, hopefully this autumn, just, you know, because this is when I'm going to need these kinds of winter accessories, but we'll see. The first one is the Better Now Beanie by Lily Kate France, aka Lily Kate Makes, which is a really nice triple folded brim beanie that has this really nice picot edging on the top and bottom of the brim in a contrast color. I actually knit one as a gift, so Sarah, if you're watching this, please stop. But this is what it looks like. That's the side with my ends that I haven't woven in yet. I finished this yesterday, so this is the Better Now beanie. I think it's gorgeous. I really am obsessed with this pattern. I'm gonna knit one. I knit one for this friend. I'm going to knit one for myself. I just obviously have the pattern. I just haven't decided on a color yet. And look at this gorgeous crown shaping. It looks like something store-bought, but I mean that in a good way. Just very neat and even and professional. Sorry that I keep going out of frame. I'm so not a professional. I'm also not wearing my glasses, so I kind of keep you/me in the viewfinder big blur right now. But I'm going to knit this, except for myself. However, I don't think I have the yarn for it yet. Big scooch back onto the bed and into frame. I have enough of this leftover Fiber Company Acadia and Cormorant to make one. I just don't know if I want a hat out of this. Originally I thought that I did, but it might be just a little bit too much for the forehead. Mind you, in cold weather nothing itches me personally, so maybe that won't be true. I have enough. It'll probably end up being made in this. I'm not sure about what contrast. Maybe the last of this. You only need like 10 meters of it for the contrast picot edge. But yeah, the Better Now beanie, I'm absolutely going to make it for myself. I think it is super classic, super feminine, super versatile, but I want to pick it, I want to knit it in a color that works with most of my winter/outerwear garments and something really soft and warm against my forehead. But it was a joy to knit, and I think it's gorgeous, and I think it's timeless, and I think it's an underappreciated pattern compared to how popular petite knits hat patterns are, and the Lily Kate Makes Better Now beanie is very similar, but with like a really lovely detail, in my personal opinion. So yeah, that's this Better Now beanie. The next, I have the pattern, but I don't have any yarn to kind of show you right now, but it is the Spring Knits Free pattern on Ravelry, which I think is a chart that's adapted from a book based on Latvian knitting, but I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. However, the pattern is absolutely called the Spring Mittens by Amanda Sund. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I saw this right when I first started knitting, and it was like a goal knit a little bit, where I was like, I want to be able to make mittens that are that beautiful. It requires 3 colors of fingering weight yarn, and I think I'm going to knit it with dark green being the background, and then maybe leftover Natural You sock yarn, and then my Sweet Georgia purpley gray yarn as the colors to make it more autumnal and more me. But I'm not set on the yarns yet, even though I absolutely am going to knit those mittens at some point. Also, in my last video, someone named Kate, hi Kate, thank you for your suggestion and for your comment, suggested that I use my skein of 400 meters of merino singles hand dyed to make mittens, and I really like that idea. So I might, if I end up getting the Knits About Winter book, I think I might make the Persephone mitts out of that. I have some Riverside Studios merino singles in the color Sundown that I might make out of that, but I want to think about it more and think about, is that pattern the best use of that yarn? So those are 2 things that I really want to knit. They're not the top of my priority list. I don't necessarily have all the pieces in order to kind of cast on immediately after this video. The third in that category, I'm just checking my hastily scrawled list to make sure I'm not forgetting anything, because there's always so much I want to tell you guys. The third is the Fortune Sweater by Petite Knit, which is a basic lace like clover pattern sweater knit. The sample is knit in 2 strands of mohair. I'm not going to do that because I want a little bit more of an opaque sweater, and also I think Mohair is very expensive, and I think for me, I think I'm gonna find it itchy. However, I do have a gift card that I got in the spring for my birthday to a local knitting store that I haven't used yet that stocks drops brushed alpaca silk, which is a little bit more fuzz per strand, and it's also $6 Canadian per ball. And I think I did a swatch in some leftover dropped alpaca silk that I had for gift knits, and I hit gauge exactly, and I really liked the fabric. It's just a little bit thicker, which is good, for Canadian winters and autumns, but also just because I don't want whatever I'm wearing underneath to be visible in the sweater. Like, that's why I knit sweaters. I don't want that. So I'm going to knit, and I have this fortune sweater pattern. However, I want to level up my knitting a little bit more. People say that it's a more difficult pattern just because you have to keep the lace pattern, the raglan increases in the back short row shaping in mind at the beginning the whole time, and you're knitting with 2 strands of a fuzzier yarn, so it can be a little bit more difficult to see your stitches. And I don't want to try it, get frustrated, do a bad job, and ruin the yarn or anything, so I'm going to wait a little bit more before I cast that on. But I do have the pattern, and I think it's just such a jaw-droppingly beautiful, elegant, simple pattern. I want it in my wardrobe. I think it'll fit quite nicely with my aesthetic. It's really the only petite knit pattern that really calls to me. A lot of the others I think are gorgeous, but I just don't feel compelled to knit them. The fortune sweater, which seems to be a less popular one, is the one that calls to me, so long as it's a little bit more opaque. I've seen some other people's projects on Ravelry using the yarn that I planned, and their final results are exactly what I want. I'm also just a little bit torn on the color. I like the dropped alpaca silk colors, but not necessarily enough to... Oh, I'm sorry if the light's changing. Am I being completely washed out? Hope not. You know what, if it is, I'm sorry for your viewing experience, but the light's changing. Yeah, the dropped brushed alpaca silk color selection, everything's just like a shade off from what I want. The purple's just maybe a little bit too purple. Their forest green is just a little bit too like under the sea versus this kind of green or this kind of green, which are normally the ones, or this kind of green, which are normally what I go for. Again, it's very obvious what my favorite color is, despite the, and so I probably am going to knit the fortune sweater in green. So those are my unsure, I'll get around to it eventually, hopefully this autumn patterns. And then my stretch goal is to knit a sweater vest. I think I would get a lot of use out of it. I think I might look really dorky, and I was worried about looking too masculine with the short hair and a sweater vest, and because I was picturing wearing it over like a button down or my tight long sleeve shirts or turtlenecks and my loose fitting trousers, which is a go-to outfit, but sometimes I get too cold because I'm easily cold, and also I live in a very cold climate. But I think a sweater vest is a great transitional piece. I can picture the outfits. I can picture them, not just like theoretical outfits, ones I have with things in my wardrobe, potentially with this shirt. One day I'll show you these beige trousers I'm always talking about. They're really more of a taupe. I don't know why I keep saying beige. I think a nice cropped beige large armhole sweater vest would go really far in my wardrobe. But I already have yarns and patterns that I want to knit before I really settled on the sweater vest idea, and so those take priority, especially since I think maybe, and I don't want to buy any more yarn for a while because with school starting, with the move, you know, I don't really have a lot of extra money to be spending on yarn when I have plenty plus patterns that I'm excited to knit for. But maybe if things change, I will knit a sweater vest. The ones I'm currently looking at are vest number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Love the silhouette, love the double folded collar. The one thing I don't like about it is that the armhole's a little bit tighter. I want a looser one because I wear a lot of flowy arm tops. 2, the other one is there's a YouTube channel, I think it's called Handmade by Aura, who has a vest tutorial / pattern in video form, I think just for one size, but still for free. I might knit that just because I love the look of it. I need to make sure that the size that she gives the tutorial for, or sorry, I shouldn't assume that they give the tutorial for, is the same size that I would want to wear, or at least me easily modifiable to get the fit that I want. but the silhouette of that for me is absolutely perfect. So that's kind of my stretch goal. And this is kind of an overview of what's been catching my eye and what I want to be wearing and knitting this autumn, not including gift knits. I am really excited about it. I think autumn is just such a great time to be knitting and out and about, and hopefully things will start to change in terms of current global events, and allow me to be able to wear these things. And yeah, what are you guys looking forward to knitting this autumn? Have any of you knit the patterns that I talk about, or have you guys used the yarns before? And do you have any tips or tricks, or like how did you find it? I'm really excited. I'll keep you guys posted in my bi-weekly / once or twice a month podcasts, so you can catch my progress there. I wish you a happy September and a happy autumn. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it a lot. And I hope all of you guys are doing well. Bye!